We're good, we're good. So, this is today's project. Super cool art that is inspired by Rene Magritte. It is based on his oil painting, The False Mirror. So I actually printed it out. This is his original. Oh, this actual thing is not original, but this is a photograph of his work. So I kind of took my own spin on it, and instead of doing the clouds in the sky, I did a sunset and ocean sunset clouds. So that was just my personal spin, and I encourage you, if you follow along today, to put your own spin on it. You could put whatever you want inside of here. You could put other nature scenes like trees or rainbows or oceans, whatever you want to do. Or if you want to really go off of the original sky look, you could do that too, and that might be a really simple option. So yeah, you can use any materials you want for this. I am using my color pencils in this little pot that I made back in my ceramics days, and a regular pencil for sketching, eraser. Today, for time's sake, because this definitely took me more than an hour, I'm going to be doing a little halfie. So if you want to make your paper smaller too, you can do that. If you're worried about coloring the whole paper, because when you're using color pencils, your hand does tend to get a little tired. So we don't want this to be too excruciating. So I'm gonna use this little paper right here and go ahead and get started. Okie doke. Let me try to find a way to have both of them in the frame. Kind of hard when your paper is in landscape orientation, but maybe they'll both fit. Pretty good. Maybe I could have this one in here too. Oh, looky there. Got it all here. So make sure this is in film and view. So when I start this, the eye is basically two main lines, so it's simple, and I'll tell you a trick for symmetry that I've learned. It's when we're drawing this top line, it's just kind of like an arch going across, and what we'll look at is that the line is the same distance from the corner on both sides. So if you look more in that like negative space, you can tell if you're doing it symmetrical. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just kind of starting 1.5 inches kind of from the top of the paper. I almost let the arch kind of go off the paper as I do it, and then curve it back down on the other side. And what we're looking at are these two shapes that we've created behind our line, are they about the same? So it helps to look at it more like with that perspective, and they look pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we are going to do the same thing on the bottom. So it's basically just another arch, and we're starting it around the same distance. It's like kind of like 1.5 inches, I would say. So we're doing the same thing, and just sketch kind of lightly, because if you do have to erase, it'll leave a mark. And sometimes color pencils, if that's what you're using, they like to show all your pencil marks. So
just go lightly, and then I'm basically pretending I'm still sketching it even though it's coming off the page, just so I kind of continue my line in the same momentum. And looking at this, so this is kind of what I was talking about, like these two triangles at the bottom aren't the same shape. This one needs to be bigger, so that's how I know I need to curve my line up more a little bit on this side. So that looks pretty good. And on the bottom part, we kind of have these lines that we can do extra light. They're kind of just guidelines for the shading that we'll be doing. So it's just like a ½ inch from the other line and over here. So yeah, here we go. That's our outer eye sketch, and now we can do the pupil. So the pupil's notoriously known for just being this flat black surface. It almost adds to the elusiveness of the painting, which is a surrealist painting, an oil painting that Rene Magritte did all the way back in 1928. So this is a very old painting indeed. And what I'm looking for now is something to trace. That would be my tip to you, is to trace something for your pupil, because let's be real, it's hard to draw a perfect circle. Even if you're an artist, I don't believe you can do that. No one can. So I'm gonna grab something that I could use. I'm looking at maybe the bottom of my water cup that I was using earlier for painting. And this might be pretty good. And it goes pretty much center with your eye, just kind of smack dab in the middle. So I'm just looking to see if it's the same distance away from both sides. Looks pretty good. If you want to get exact, you can totally use a ruler. I'm usually too impatient for that, and I just eyeball it. So that's just how I roll, but you do it however is easiest for you. So there we go. It's a little bigger than his, but that's okay. So we can just go ahead and get that pupil done, since we know exactly what we're gonna do for it, just using black. So I have a black color pencil, but feel free to use whatever you have on hand. Obviously, this little black guy's, he's been used a little too much. He's shorter than my finger now. But we'll use it till we can't use it anymore. So I'm gonna start kind of light as I'm tracing along with my pencil line, just to get that border or outline of the eyeball, pupil, whatever you want to. We're getting scientific here. We've been getting pretty scientific with our Facebook Lives lately. I remember last week Matt was talking about the parts of the butterfly. We're having a whole animal biology kick that lesson. So now this week we have parts of the eye. You know, we have the iris and the pupil. But so while we're coloring this black, I can tell you a little more about Rene Magritte and the whole surrealism art movement that took place in the 20th century. So it developed in Europe following World War I, and the the surrealist movement, we're all just making things up as we go. I'm convinced no one has everything all figured out all the time. I know I don't, that's for sure. But yeah, so basically what this movement was all about, this art style and movement, cultural movement, it was about a lot of juxtaposition of things that you wouldn't expect to see together, right? So in this we have an eyeball, but we also have a sky, and it leaves you wondering and questioning and kind of space for you to experience the art and how it makes you feel and what it taps into for you, like your own interpretation. So that's what I find really intriguing about the movement, is that it just, instead of being something that's so straightforward and literal and understood, it kind of makes you go into your own subconscious and like think, is it the eye reflecting the sky when it looks at it, or is the sky like somehow inside of this eye, or is it even really a real eye? It just kind of like all the questions. So we can go over this again, like darker, and if you want to use a marker or something to make it super dark, you can. I think, I don't know how I got that so dark, honestly. I think I did like 50 layers. I'm exaggerating, but it was a lot. I do have a backup black pencil, so maybe I'll give my other beloved one a break. But maybe even some watercolor might work too. I might try that at the end, like just go in with some kind of thick black watercolor on it, because it's gonna be really hard to get this dark enough with color pencils. I forgot how hard I pressed last time. My hand was tired. But I'm gonna do that at the end, because if I'm coloring everything else, I don't want the paint to smear. Oh, thank you, Steven. I miss you so much, playing music and making art with the kids at Nemours. I know they probably miss us just as much, if not more. Miss all the kiddos. So our next step, we can draw our, if you want to do the sunset like I did, you can draw your horizon line. If you want to just do the clouds, you can do that. But for me, I drew the horizon line a little bit below the pupil, and I'm actually going to trace this. Like so, and it's another really light line. And that's that. So we can go ahead and let's do the outer parts first. We'll work our way in. So for the outer part color, his are looking a little darker than mine, and that's also just kind of the nature of color pencils. But I am going to use I have a couple different browns. You may only have one, and that's okay. So just get your browns, your yellow, and some red, and a touch of blue. A little touch. So we can just start light and get darker. I'm gonna start with my yellow and just do a light layer on this corners of the eye. But if you want to make yours any other colors, you can feel free to do that. It's your art. And speaking of which, we love to see your art, and if you want to share with us, that would be awesome. You can post it in the comments here or on your page and tag us, and if you do that, you'll automatically be entered for a chance to win some original artwork by my talented coworker Dylan. So yeah, I know you want to win that, have some original artwork in your house. So there we go, we just got some yellow going on here. We're going to start building up our color, and I'm pressing pretty lightly. I'm also standing up while I'm doing this. This is kind of interesting. So that, yep, he sure is. All of his famous artist interpretations are really cool. So next color, I'm going in with my lighter shade of brown, and I'm still keeping it pretty light. And I'm just trying to do as smooth of a layer as I can. And I try to do long-ish strokes of the pencil, just try to get from one edge of the paper to the other, just to do kind of long, even strokes, but they're not all like that. For the other ones, I kind of do like a circular motion almost with the pencil, like small circular motions, and that helps for your lines to be smooth too, and it's not like super streaky. So kind of like long ones to get it like covered, and then smaller circular ones to get it all evened out. There we go. So we're gonna do the same on the bottom. And we can already see that this line against, I'm just gonna, for time's sake, just go ahead and start instead of covering it all with evenness. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in my darker spaces. So this line against the now white part of the eye is dark, and we'll kind of make this a harsh, defined line, and then give it a medium pressure along the line with your pencil, and then just gradually press down less and less to give it a natural transition from dark to light, because then underneath that we can see, and on this one there's the highlighted area, it's a lot lighter, so we can accomplish a lot with just how much pressure we put on the pencil. Because with colored pencils, we can't really go back and add highlights unless we use like a paint marker or something, which would look cool. But we just kind of accomplish it on our own by leaving that space. I just have a little bit of my yellow as an underlayer popping through. So Then where you drew your second line, do the same thing. Give it a more defined line and then gradually let up on it. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. And we'll just go ahead and finish this little section. I'm sorry I'm all over the place. This is just, it's hard to follow like linear steps when you're doing art, I've found. So I'm going in with a little bit of red, and that gives it a little bit more liveliness, like it's more of a skin tone. Yeah, and then a little touch. I might do actually another defining line with this darker brown. I like the crisp edges in his painting, and I'm trying to capture that in mine. Yeah. This is also just kind of a cooler brown in general, and I just think with the warm colors like the yellows and the reds and then this, and then now we'll do a touch of blue, they all just interact really well together, kind of balance each other out to make our skin tone. And or I shouldn't say skin, it's more like eye. But your eyelid. I don't know what that part of your body's called, that like your whole eyelid. I guess it's kind of skin. And go back with more brown. Kind of just doing a coat of the brown over it all now to give it just to blend it even more. Okay, we won't mess with that anymore. Moving on to the next one. Sometimes you just have to know when to stop. Yeah, exactly. No rules say we have to go in any kind of order. So, but what I will do next is this part. So we're doing pretty much the same thing all over again. So now we just have practice and we can easily go on to this one. So we're giving it that defined line and then gently releasing pressure from the pencil, getting lighter as we go away from the line. Now I grabbed my lighter brown and I'm just doing full sweep of the brown, starting darker and getting lighter. And then this second darker line,
little bit of red. And a touch of blue, which I realized I forgot to do on the other side. I think. Cannot remember. So I'll go ahead and do with blue on this side too. Hey Sarah, thanks for stopping by and tagging some friends. That's awesome. Hope you enjoy following along. If you do, okay, so now we will do this pretty much the same thing on the top. So we'll give it our, go in with our brown, define this line. And I'm doing my lighter brown. And here in the picture, might not be able to see, but in addition to it going dark to light, it also starts to get a little dark in the corner and it equally fades into light, so it's kind of blended on both sides. So I'm gonna do a little bit darker in the corner and fade back into light over here as well. So a really wise teacher that I had in undergrad, Louise Freshman Brown, she was my painting teacher, and she put it really simply for me when I was struggling painting some stuff in her class. She said, all you have to do is look for the darks and the lights, like the shadows and the highlights. It's really all you have to do. Once you just pay attention to that, everything else comes pretty easily. And it's kind of true. Already you can see it just gives so much more dimension to your art, just having these different values. So I'm gonna go in with my red. And then blue. Cool. And the last corner, pretty much the same thing again. You can try to get this lined up. This one's kind of darker than the other one, so I'll probably do the same thing. I'll still do the dark to light, light to dark effect, but I think overall this, I'm going to do a little darker. I think I forgot to do my yellow over here. Oh. And little red. Oops. And some blue. Cool. Now we can move on to the water. I have this kind of aqua color that I think is pretty for the water. You could use just any light blue or something really just to get your line. A lot of the water is reflections from the top, but I also gave it a little shade with this just to make it look like a pretty ocean too. So I'm just tracing along this line, almost doing a similar effect like we were just doing, like going from a little darker and tapering it off to lighter. Also, as I'm doing the water, I'm kind of shading on the sides, but not really so much in the middle because a lot of that's going to be the sun reflection in the middle part, which we can do now. So another trick is to trace a half of a circle for your sun. So if you find something circular to use, that would be good. This is kind of part of the fun. It's a little scavenger hunt for like the perfect size circle. And this is a little small. Actually, no, I think it's perfect. So just a jar from my kitchen, whatever you have on hand will work. I'm gonna scoot this over a little bit. Maybe just center this. Okay, so then I'm gonna trace this. This might be one of the oldest tricks in the book. I don't even know. Or I feel like people back in the day just could draw perfect circles, and somehow now I don't think anyone can, but maybe if you can, let me know. I want to see it. So we are gonna trace. Thank you, lentil holder. Now, just gonna do some yellow for the sun. Even though the setting sun would really be more like red, but this is just how I wanted to interpret it. It's part of my surrealism type vibes we got going on in here, so and I'm also going to use, ow, oh my goodness, oh, I just poked myself on the pencil. I did way too well of a job sharpening that. I also have this pretty gold, more golden yellow ochre, and giving it some little shade of that. And as we're going, we can go ahead and start doing the same colors below it. Now we're just doing its reflection on the water. It's hard to see the yellow on the camera a little bit, but so, and the reflection is just that. It's pretty much the same shape you just did, just upside down. So reflections look a lot fancier than they actually are for art skills. And for the water, I'll kind of do like certain spots a little darker than others, just to create a more water-like look, because when you look at water, you do see those like darker spots, lighter spots, all the light reflections. It's not perfectly smooth and even. Ooh, it's not making a good sound. So I'm giving it a little more pressure now, doing this yellow on the top part. And I'm kind of feeling adding some orange to it as well. I have this super pretty, vibrant, it's like almost like neon orange. But if you have a regular orange, that works too. Ooh, yeah. Needed that.
might add a little bit of this one as well. It's kind of a red-orange. Now we got a fiery sun. And then going to take my yellow and just lightly do the sun setting sky, just a base layer of some yellow. I'm holding the end of my pencil and just loosely doing this. Doesn't have to look perfect. You can really barely even see it anyways. And then I'll take the light blue to do the clouds, and again I'm kind of loosely holding my pencil. It helps just to loosen up a little bit, you know, when you're doing this kind of stuff. And I'm just going to start kind of doing some fluffy cloud shapes. All little circular motions. Mine are blue clouds. Rene Magritte did the white clouds, but your clouds could be any color you want. Some bubblegum, cotton candy clouds. And I'll go over them a little bit. I just like to do it really lightly and loosely for the first layer, and then go back over it, add some color. And the way I shaded them and the way he did too, just to show like where the light's coming from. The sun is obviously shining from well, I guess in this case the sun would be shining from below since it's below them, so kind of have it backwards actually. His are darker on the bottom because in the daytime it's shining more on the tops, but on these I guess the bottom should be lighter now that I'm thinking about it. But my natural inclination when I'm doing clouds is to kind of have them be darker towards the bottom, and even just in certain spots to add a little bit of dimension. So now I'm kind of doing my cloud placement more like this one today. The original painting, just to change it up a little bit and try to mimic him a little bit more. This is what I'm feeling today. So right now I'm drawing that cloud right there. So the really cool thing when Rene Magritte was painting this, it was considered to be products of their unconscious minds. So I don't know what exactly he was doing, but I think that does happen to people when they're doing art. You kind of get into that flow state, and then things just start happening, or you think of things you didn't even realize you were thinking about. So it's just a really cool expression of whatever he had going on in his unconscious mind. But part of what they were doing is they liked making people feel uncomfortable. So you look at this and you're just like, I don't understand what's going on. And that's kind of the point. Not really sure what exactly is going on. It's kind of like with abstract paintings. You're left to your own devices to interpret it and see just like how it makes you feel, or you look at it and you see certain shapes in it, kind of like when you're looking at clouds, and some of them look like animals and faces. So this little cloud behind this one up here, kind of give it this, has a darker edge that separates them. And see just like how it makes. And we have this one up here. A little one down here. Cool. So now we're going to do the fiery sky. We got the sun setting and just that moment when the sky just looks like it's on fire. I love that part of the day. I love watching sunsets. And again, I'm kind of holding my pencil at a slant. It's like parallel with my paper, just to do this part. And kind of letting it go in the clouds a little too. The colors reflecting in the clouds. And then we'll let it go into the water too. So it's reflecting all over it. You can kind of just give it touches of brighter areas. Give it some yellows. Just because it wouldn't be all one equal color. Kind of have those pockets of lightness. And you can also take your red orange, give it some more fiery vibrancy in the sky. One equal color. So on my original one, I did a lot of layers, and that is how I achieved that darker, more vibrant look. Today, for the sake of time, I'm really just doing this light sketch that can be done a lot quicker than as opposed to me going in and really pressing down hard and giving it multiple layers. It does take a while, but the finished product looks really cool. So if you have the time to spend on it, I would say go for it. If not, it still looks really cool, even in this like lighter sketched form. Let me give more red to the clouds. And I'm gonna go back in more with this light orange too, especially just in certain areas. And a little more yellow to my water, actually, too. So yeah, could probably, oh, sorry, it's grabbing my eraser, my sharpener, but I would probably go over this sky a little bit more yellow just to make it more vibrant if, especially if I'm really taking my time on it. And the sun too. So I'm just pressing down a little harder. Hey Erin, I don't know if you're still here, but it says you were watching, so hey girl. Erin's one of our favorite nurses over on Weaver 4. She likes hanging out with us when she can, when we're there in the playroom. Or maybe I shouldn't say that, might get her in trouble. Like she's hanging out with us too much. When she's on the job, she's watching her kids in there, her patients. That's what it is. And maybe having a little bit of fun too. So yeah, that's kind of as far as I'm gonna go with it tonight. Might add some like cloud reflections in the water actually too. So this is that big one. I'm not gonna really do all of them, but I'll kind of do these bigger clouds. Clouds. Let me add a little bit more definition. It's hard to stop. I say I'm gonna stop and then I don't stop. But as we part ways today, friends, in spirit and honor of Rene Magritte, one thing that I read that he hoped to do with his art and this whole movement is to challenge you to look at the world differently. So that is my challenge for you, to not be so viewing the world in just one certain way or having the same attitude or outlook or however you want to put it. There's usually another way to look at it. So
enjoy doing your own interpretations of this, be sure to share with us. We would love to see it. And hope you'll tune in on Thursday for another Facebook Live with Dylan, our artist Dylan. So thank you for joining today, guys. I'm gonna sign off. You keep doing those layers and opening your eyes and your mind. Thanks for joining in. Bye.